Welcome to the Godot BootCamp lesson on how to request a leaderboard. In this lesson, we're going to use the Get Global Leaderboard page request that we looked at in the previous lesson in the Design Portal's Cloud Code API Explorer. This time, we are going to make the request in the Godot example game and display the leaderboard entries to the user. This request takes in 4 parameters: the leaderboard ID, the sort order, and the start and end indexes. Click the JSON response to familiarize yourself with the data that the Get Global Leaderboard page request will return. Navigate into Visual Studio Code. To start, we need to create 3 classes to make managing the leaderboard data simpler. At the top, click File, then click New Text File. Click Select Language. From the drop-down list, select C#. Save the file and name it leaderboardentry.cs. Click Save. This class will manage a single leaderboard entry object. At the top of the file, declare the using statements. Declare the leaderboard entry class. Then declare 4 private member variables for the nickname, time, rank, and isUserScore. The isUserScore member variable is so we can know if this leaderboard entry is the player's score or not. On the leaderboard dialog screen, the player's latest high score will be highlighted in green to easily identify it. Declare a constructor to initialize the member variables. Then declare a public property for each member variable. Save the file, and then at the top, click File, click New Text File. Select the programming language. From the drop-down list, select C#. Save the file, and name it leaderboard.cs. This class will manage the leaderboard entries for a single leaderboard object. At the top of the file, declare the using statements. Declare the leaderboard class. Declare a private member variable of type string to represent the leaderboard's name. Then declare a private member variable of type list of leaderboard entry objects. Declare a public getter property for the leaderboard's name. Declare a public constructor to initialize the leaderboard's member variables. Declare a public method called getLeaderboardEntryAtIndex. In the body, safety check the index parameter. If the index is valid, return the object at the index from the leaderboard entries list. If the index is not valid, then return null. Declare a public method called getCount. This method returns the number of elements in the leaderboard entries list. Save the file, and then at the top, click File. Click New Text File. Select the programming language, and then from the drop-down list, select C#. Save the file, and then name it leaderboardsmanager.cs. Click Save. This class will manage all the leaderboard objects. This class may not seem necessary right now, but it will become useful in future lessons when we implement additional leaderboards. At the top of the file, declare the using statements. Then declare the leaderboard class. Declare a private member variable of type list of leaderboard objects. Then declare a private member variable of type float called mUserTime. Declare a public method called addLeaderboard. In the body, if the user time is set, i.e. it's greater than 0, loop through all the leaderboard entries in the leaderboard object and compare each time to the user time member variable. If the user time is equal to one of the object's time value, then set the leaderboard entries isUserScore flag to true. Next, remove any leaderboards with the same name as the leaderboard parameter from the leaderboard list. Finally, add the leaderboard parameter object to the list of leaderboard objects. Declare a public method called getLeaderboardByName. This method will loop through all the leaderboard objects in the leaderboards list and compare the name parameter to the name of each leaderboard object. If one of the names match, then the leaderboard object is returned. If there isn't a match, then null will be returned instead. Declare a public method called getCount. This method returns the number of elements in the list of leaderboard objects. Declare a public method called setUserTime. In this method, we do a conversion here to milliseconds, then back to seconds. Here's some insight on why we are doing it this way. The times are stored on the server as a long in milliseconds. So before we send off the score when we're posting it, we convert the time from a float in seconds to a long in milliseconds. Then, when we get the score back from the server, we convert the score from milliseconds back to seconds. Save the file and then navigate to the constants.cs file. Declare a constant for the main leaderboard ID. Then declare a pair of constants for the indexes used when making the leaderboard page request. We'll use 0 to 9 as the index values. Save the file and then navigate to the network.cs file. Declare a private member variable of type leaderboardsManager and instantiate it. Next, declare a public getter property called getLeaderboardsManager. Declare a pair of public delegates to handle the Get Global Leaderboard page response. Scroll down to the bottom. Above the output log method, declare a public method called parseLeaderboard. Remember earlier when I mentioned that a future lesson would add multiple leaderboards? This code is also in anticipation of simplifying a future lesson. Safety check the leaderboard data. Parse the leaderboard array and the leaderboard ID from the leaderboard data dictionary. Declare a list of leaderboard entry objects. Then declare some local variables. Loop through all the elements in the leaderboard array. Then get the elements leaderboard entry dictionary. And parse the data dictionary. Parse the rank, nickname, and score. Convert the score in milliseconds to a time in seconds. Create a leaderboard entry object. Pass in the nickname, rank, and time as the arguments and add it to the leaderboard entries list. Once all the leaderboard entries have been parsed, create a leaderboard object, passing in the leaderboard ID and the leaderboard entries list as the arguments. Then return the leaderboard object. In the event that the leaderboard data is null, return null. Scroll up, and above the handle authentication success method, declare a public method called requestLeaderboard. This method takes in the leaderboard ID, the start and end page indexes, and the callback delegates as the parameters. In the body, check to see if the user is authenticated. If the user is not authenticated, format an error message and then invoke the handle request error method, passing in the error message and the error delegate as the arguments. If the user is authenticated, declare success callback lambda. In the body of the lambda, log the response data. Then parse the response data and get the data object. Invoke the parseLeaderboard method, passing in a reference to the data object as the argument. Then add the leaderboard to the leaderboard's manager. Finally, if the success callback delegate is not null, it will be invoked, passing in a reference to the leaderboard object as the argument. Next, declare a failure callback lambda. In the body of the lambda, format an error message. And then invoke the handle request error method, passing in the error message and the error delegate as the arguments. Invoke brainCloud's leaderboard services Get Global Leaderboard page request, passing in the leaderboard ID, the sort order, and the start and end indexes and the callback lambdas as the arguments. Above this method, declare public overloaded request leaderboard method. This method will only take in the leaderboard ID and the callback delegates as the parameters. In the body, invoke the request leaderboard method, passing in the leaderboard ID parameter, the start and end index constants, and the callback delegates as the arguments. Save the file and then navigate to the game.cs file. Scroll to the bottom and declare a private method called onLeaderboardRequestCompleted. In the body, hide the connecting dialog and show the main menu. Scroll up and find the onAuthenticationRequestCompleted method. Delete the two statements that hide the connecting dialog and show the main menu. In their place, invoke the network's requestLeaderboard method, passing in the main leaderboard ID constant and the onLeaderboardRequestCompleted method as the arguments. Save the file and then navigate to the leaderboardcontrol.cs file. This class is responsible for displaying a single leaderboard entry to the user in the leaderboard dialog. Declare a public method called set. This method takes in a leaderboard entry object as the parameter. In the body, set the output text values for the leaderboard entry's rank, nickname, and time. If this leaderboard entry is the user's time, i.e. the score that was just posted by the user, change the text color to green, otherwise it will be white. Save the file, and then navigate to the leaderboardsdialog.cs file. This class is responsible for displaying a list of leaderboard entries of the main leaderboard to the user. In the onShow method, delete the to-do statement along with the reset leaderboard data method. Invoke the set leaderboard data method, passing in the main leaderboard ID constant as the argument. Scroll down and find the set leaderboard data method. This method is responsible for resetting each leaderboard control object's output. What that really means is it just clears the output text for each leaderboard control object. Then get the leaderboard object for the leaderboard ID parameter. Loop through all the leaderboard entries and pass the data along to the respective leaderboard control object to set the output text. Save the file and then compile the code. If the code compiles successfully, open the Godot editor. Run the game. Click brainCloud, then click Leaderboards. The Leaderboards dialog will appear to be empty. That's because we haven't posted any scores to it yet. Stop the game, open your web browser, and navigate to the brainCloud portal. We're going to post a score using the Cloud Code API Explorer. Authenticate, then select the Leaderboard service. From the operation drop-down list, select the Post Score to Leaderboard request. Enter the leaderboard ID, which is main, then format the score that we want to post. Click Execute to make the request. Navigate back to Godot and run the game. Open the Leaderboards dialog and notice that it contains the score that we just posted. Posting a score to a leaderboard is the next lesson in the Godot BootCamp.